Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Thursday edition of the MSP Initiative Live. Today, we bring on a special guest from all the way on the other side of the pond, Mr. Paul Green. And before Paul gets a chance to even say anything, let's get some housekeeping out of the way so that everybody knows the routine. One, if you haven't checked out this session before, I know we always get the question, is this session recorded? It is. And it's available or will be available afterwards on mspinitiative.com, MSP Initiative, one word.com, underneath the sessions, right at the top toolbar. All the sessions we've ever done are there. You can fast forward, rewind, download, do whatever works for you. Two, we have another Channel Strong tour coming up in the Southwest here at the end of September. If you haven't, been able to jump out and you're in that area, we'd love to see you. Again, mspinitiative.com, click on Channel Strong. You'll see the cities, you'll see the dates. If you're an MSP, sign up. We'd like to invite you out and have you join us somewhere in the Southwest. And lastly, we have our monthly MSP giveaway. So you can see all of that on mspinitiative.com under giveaways. And there's 10 vendor prizes this month. Again, you don't have to do anything other than sign up. And you might win one of 10 prizes. So nothing to lose, right? Put your name in the hat. So now that all of that is out of the way in like 60 seconds, now I'm going to bring Paul in and we're going to learn about who Paul is. Why did I bring this random guy from the UK on the webcast? Well, some of you probably already know who Paul is according to the chat. But I'm going to give Paul a chance to introduce himself, tell us about his journey. How did he get to this part of the sandbox in IT land? And then we're going to talk shop. Paul, all yours, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And it's wonderful to be on this show. It's been so long. I've wanted to be here, and it's great to join you, George. So I started my career back in the day, a very long time ago, as a newspaper reporter. And then I did 10 years as a radio presenter. So I was that annoying guy on the radio in the morning when you're reaching for coffee and you're just stumbling out of bed. And that was awesome until about 2005, when I had what's known as an entrepreneurial seizure. And George, I know you've read this book, but if you ever read a book called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, he writes about this. It's where, in fact, you may have had exactly the same thing. You get this idea in your head that you could run your own business. And of course, the unhappy people that we know are typically the people that have had that entrepreneurial seizure and they've never actually acted on it. So I started what became a marketing agency. I was only working in the healthcare sectors. I sold that back in 2016 and I was banned for 5 years. I had a non-compete for 5 years from all those healthcare sectors I'd worked in. I kind of thought, oh, well, I can't not work. I got bored very quickly and I wanted to start another business. So I looked at all the businesses I'd worked with over the years, and I found this thing called IT support. Now, I'm not a tech, but I love technology. I'm kind of hopeless with the computer, but I love what technology can do, how it frees people, how it empowers businesses. So I started a little IT support marketing business, which is now morphed into, we're working with 500 MSPs all over the world. I love what I do every day. And all I do, apart from eat and sleep and spend time with my family, is I work with MSPs, helping them to grow their business through great marketing. And that is pretty much me in a nutshell.
I mean, the radio voice obviously fits the bill. No questions asked.
Thank you. It's funny, my old boss in radio never used to think I had a good radio voice, but now I'm out of radio. People seem to. It's weird.
I love it. That's great. I mean, I should bring one of my other colleagues on the line. He's Mr. Radio too. You guys would have a great show. Maybe for the next time. But yeah. So Paul, I mean, it's very interesting. You were in the same boat as a lot of other people, right? Hey, I want to work for myself. I want to go out there. I want to do something I like to do. What drew you to IT services? I mean, it's a very unique sandbox. It's not huge, but it's not small. How did you even stumble into it?
So I've worked with a couple of IT support companies over the years, and we're talking right back to 2005, 2006. So very much when everyone was in the world of break fix. And back then they were just, more of I worked with lots of different kind of businesses in lots of different sectors. It was back in 2016 when I was looking around and I wanted to marry a market. And your friend in radio will understand that phrase very well. It's where you find a city that you want to be on the radio on for the next 30 years and you marry that market, you integrate yourself into that city. So I didn't want to build up another business and sell it. I'm only 47, but I wanted to do 10, 15, 20 years, enjoying myself, as well as making some money and having some fun. And I wanted a market that was going to be vibrant in 20 years' time. And the more I looked into the MSP model, the more excited I got. Because if you've not realized how amazing your business model is, I think most MSPs forget this actually, because the day-to-day demands of the business kind of drag a lot of the fun of it out for you. But you think of it like this: your business is pretty much wrapped wholly around monthly recurring revenue. Your clients are very willing to give you great big sums of money for projects, off the back of which will generate more monthly recurring revenue. And your clients stay with you for 15 years, sometimes 20 years. Most MSPs I speak to have got client number 1, number 2, or number 3, and they've stuck with them all these years. This is literally the world's best business model. And the more I looked at this, the more I thought this is just a great marketplace to be in. And then I started looking at MSPs' websites. Now, in the last 5 years or so, I must have looked at more than 1,000 MSP websites, and probably of those 1,000, 980 are rubbish, just awful. And as I looked at those websites, I had an epiphany. I realized that the average MSP is someone who is technically brilliant. Their passion, the thing that gets them up in the morning, is proactively preventing problems from happening. It's, helping their clients to grow using technology. It's fixing things. It's customer service. All those things get them up in the morning. There are very, very few MSPs who jump out of the bed in the morning and clap their hands together in glee because they get to do some marketing today. That just doesn't exist. So I realized that actually the vast majority of the market weren't very good at marketing, but marketing is such a core skill. If you can get the marketing right in your MSP, it takes away a whole host of growth problems. What's the number one marketing problem for most MSPs? They just want more phone calls. They just want more meetings. They want more people to talk to. So that's what I set out to do, is let's help people have more people to talk to so that they can potentially grow their business.
I mean, everything you said is absolutely 100% spot on. No arguments at all. Quite frankly,
there's a but at the end of that, isn't there?
No, I mean, if you look at all the benchmarking, kind of reports that come out every year and all the surveys that are done, and just honestly talking to people, bumping into people at events, which are coming back. We've already had some. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It seems to never go away. Like sales and marketing, not being able to find the right people or any people that fit the mold, right, to work in your business. That's usually number 2. And number 3 is like, hey, how do I get my customers to pay me on time? Like if you do those 3, right, they're probably somewhere in the top 10 of every MSP. So let's zoom backwards then, because obviously you're working with a lot of MSPs today. Obviously you've seen a lot of websites, which I'm sure continue to boggle your mind, right? Why? I love the people who copy a bad website, right? They're like, oh, can I borrow your template? And you're like, well, was it good to begin with? You should probably not do that. But I'm sure you've seen a lot of templates out there. If you were to give, he's got my attention. There you go, Brent. Pay attention. This guy knows what he's talking about. If you were to say, hey, what does the MSP do so well in the first year or 2 trying to get out the gate that they forget about once they got some clients paying them, right? Like for some reason, whenever somebody starts up, like their back's against the wall, they got to find a way to pay the bills, and they're just hungry, and they go out there and they shake the tree, and clients appear. Maybe not good customers, maybe not people that are along for the long haul, but people who are willing to at least swipe the credit card, right? They seem so aggressive in that first period. And then all of a sudden you fast forward 3, 4, 5 years down the line, and they're like, I don't even know how to start to go out there and get new customers. And I'm like, but didn't you do that already? Like, what happened? How does that reflect in you from your side?
You've kind of answered your own question there, in that when you first start out, and when many MSPs start out, they approach the business from, right, I have this skill set, I have this ability, I need people to do this for. And there are no clients, there's no money coming in, but there's mortgage payments going out, kids need diapers, all of this kind of stuff. And there suddenly becomes this urgency. And do you know what? I've been there, you've been there, George. everyone watching this or listening to this has been there, because we've all been at the point where things are, let's not use the word desperate, but there is an urgency, and there's this, you become able to overcome whatever it is that's holding you back. But then after a couple of years, and certainly when you're away from the urgency, the business model that makes running an MSP fantastic starts to work against you. It's a double-edged sword, because you've got monthly recurring revenue coming in. You've got clients that stay with you forever. And it's very easy to navigate to your comfort zone. In fact, as humans, psychologically wise, we are driven to places of comfort. I've just been reading, I love amateur psychology, and I've just been reading a great book about the evolution of humans. It's called Sapiens. I can't remember the author's name, but if you haven't read it, it's a proper 600
I'm writing
page.
that one down here.
Oh, it's a great one. It's a deep dive into where we came from as humans, and we are naturally lazy. Now, I say that not as an accusation, because actually I think today we're working harder than humans have ever worked ever in history, despite the fact we have fewer and fewer menial things to do. He says putting his dishes in the dishwasher and putting his clothes in the washing machine. We have fewer menial things to do, but we are busier and working harder than ever before. But you go back to when we were hunter-gatherers, like 10,000, 20,000 years ago, and we were lazy. We didn't have agriculture. We didn't have animals. We didn't have pets. We woke up in the morning, we were a bit hungry, so we went out, we found some berries, we found a deer that had hurt itself, we killed it, we cooked it, we ate it, we did things with our lady friends and our men friends in caves, and then we went to sleep for 10 hours. And that was human life. And we're actually kind of still programmed that way. So we're programmed still to find areas of comfort. And once you've got your business up and running, and you've got your first few clients, and you're servicing those clients, and they love you and you love them, and you're just about paying the bills, you resort back to that area of comfort. Because I've challenged many MSPs who just want more. They're hungry for more, but they're not able to take action on it. And I've challenged them to do some very simple tasks, to build up their audiences of people who are listening to them, to build a relationship with those audiences, which is typically done through putting out content, but then most critically, to pick up this thing. If you're listening audio only, I'm holding up a phone, to pick up the phone and to call people and call people and call them and call them and call them and call them. And this is not cold calling. Cold calling is where you call people, literally you've just found their data. I'm talking about calling people who are connected to you on LinkedIn, or who follow your YouTube channel, or who are in your email database. These are slightly warm people, but you call them and call them and call them. And the reason you call them is it's the number one tool to find out when someone is likely to be ready to buy. People stay with their MSP for years and years and years. In fact, you could look at someone that's been with an MSP for 10 years and say, right, in every 10 years, there's a 2 to 3 week period where they are unhappy enough with their incumbent that they will switch over to someone else. I've just got to make sure I'm in front of them in that 2 to 3 week window. The best way to find out when that 2 to 3 week window is likely to be is to call them every 6 months, have a chat. And you don't call them trying to sell them stuff. You talk to them about their favorite subject. George, what is everyone's favorite subject?
Money?
No.
Football?
No, we're so going
Technology?
wrong here. It's themselves. Okay. Everyone's favorite subject is themselves. Tell me those were joke answers. That's the Philly coming out in you there, that is. Totally. So no, everyone's favorite subject is themselves and their business. So when you're calling people up, you don't talk about you don't talk about technology. You certainly don't talk about football. No one really cares about football. I'm a determined non-football fan or non-sports fan. You talk about them and their business. You ask them, hey, how are things going for you guys right now? Are you all sorted? Are you all over the pandemic? How are you guys been growing over the last few years? You don't ask them detailed questions, which would be uncomfortable. You just ask them in general, how are things going? What big plans have you got coming up? Everyone loves talking about their business. It's what we do when we meet, isn't it? You go to business networking like BNI or something like that. We shake hands. How's business going for you guys? And we love talking about our own business, and we kind of hate having to talk about the other person's business. That's all I mean by calling people. You call them, you talk to them, and then you might throw in a really cool qualifying question. Here's one that you can steal. Do you have an IT support company right now? You have. Okay, look, on a scale, just humor me here. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is awful and 10 is world class, how would you rank those guys right now? Now, if they answer 10, 9, or 8, there's no opportunity here for quite some time. In fact, if someone called up your clients and asked them that question, that's the answer you would want them to give. 10, 9, or 8. They are bonded to you. They're not going anywhere. They love you. They're writing little notes to you. That's how much they love you. Now, if this person answers 7, 6, or 5, there's an opportunity coming up, because there is a level of dissatisfaction with their incumbent MSP, which you can leverage. And you should push at this point for a proper meeting, push to meet up with them if you can, if the pandemic allows you to do that. If they answer 4 or below, then they are in desperate state of dissatisfaction with their incumbent. And you should look to meet them today or tomorrow, because 4 or below is actually quite rare. That's a deeply dissatisfied person who is actively looking to switch. Now, it doesn't matter if they're in a contract for 6 months. There are all sorts of things you can do. I advise my clients to buy people out of contracts. Take the long-term view. You're going to keep them 10 to 15 years. Spend 10 grand now, get them out of their contract so you can start showing them the love quickly. There's all sorts of things you can do in that situation. But that's the point of that phone call. So to come back to your question, George, I think people don't do this because, do you know what? I don't like picking up the phone. I bet you don't like picking up the phone. Most people don't like picking up the phone. And so when we're in a point of comfort, we don't want to push ourselves out into that discomfort. So the answer to that then is you don't do it personally yourself. You get someone else to do it for you. I appreciate this answer is going on, but I'm going to end it in a second.
This is great. Now I'm writing. I'm taking mental notes here. Go ahead, continue.
Okay. There's a great phrase that a mentor of mine said to me about 15 years ago, and he said, "If you will be successful in business, if you can do this one thing, you should only do what only you can do." I'm going to say that again because you should get it tattooed here on your forehead. You should only do what only you can do. So if I look at my business, I've got 500 clients. They have support requests. We have lots of support requests and just people asking for help with their marketing bits and bobs. 95% of those are done by my team. I've copied the MSP model. We have a first line, a second line, and I'm the third line support for marketing help. So I might have 1, maybe 2 things a day that I need to get involved with and just help someone out with the marketing. Perhaps it's something new. But I don't do the admin in my business. I don't do the invoices. I don't pay the bills. I don't even read my own emails. I have a virtual assistant to do that for me. I don't do my own LinkedIn. I focus on the things that only Paul can do, where Paul adds the greatest value. This is one of those things. You'll never get my team doing this because this is what I love. I write the content and I do all the sort of our own marketing because it's I don't actually implement it. Someone does that for me, but I write all the stuff and create the stuff. And I've deliberately designed my business and added resources along the way to make sure that I can do the big things in my business, and everything else, I either delegate it or I outsource it or I automate it, which in itself is an acronym, DOA. DOA stands for dead on arrival. That's what we think, but it only stands for dead on arrival if you try and do everything yourself. You've got to delegate, outsource, and automate. And that's what most MSPs need to do. And you can start small. You can start with, hey, right, I'd love to do more on LinkedIn, but I haven't got an hour a day for LinkedIn. Great. Find an automated tool, which you have to use with caution, but there are automated tools, or get a virtual assistant to build up your connections for you. They can add 5 to 10, they can make 5 to 10 connection requests a day on your behalf. You don't need to do it. You can brief them the boundaries of how you want them to do it. You want someone to make the phone calls? Great. Don't go and get a telemarketing agency. Most of them are rubbish. Not all, but most of them are rubbish. Go get a back-to-work mom who loves being on the phone, can't find a job that she loves, but she wants to work 2 to 3 hours a day, 2 to 3 days a week from home. She can do that for you. Calling your databases, calling your email people, calling up the people you're connected to on LinkedIn. If she's warm and friendly on the phone and she knows that the outcome is just to book a 15-minute video call with you, she doesn't need to know anything about technology or even your business. She's just got to know how to ask people the right questions. And warm, friendly, back-to-work mums are an amazing resource for just picking up the phone in that way for you.
I totally agree with that. Let me ask you this question, because you had a lot of pieces about the incumbent. I've personally asked this question and keep on getting answers back that over the last 18, 24 months, and we all know what happened during that time, there's a lot of people coming through the front door that are currently not engaged with an MSP, which is counter to a lot of the talking heads out there who say, oh no, the people out there who need an MSP or want an MSP, they have one already. So the market's saturated. Where do you think it really lies, Paul?
That's a really interesting question because I have a slightly skewed view of the market. Although I actually have more clients in the States than anywhere else in the world, the vast majority of clients that I have are looking for switchers. It's either because they see that by switchers, I mean someone going from one MSP to another. If you look at who is picking an MSP for the first time, they don't really tick many of the boxes. So first of all, they may be in a break-fix relationship with someone. And we all know that moving someone from break-fix to managed services is just a total pain because they have the wrong mindset. They don't think about technology the right way. They might be penny pinchers. It might be that they don't see the value. They just want to pay you $30 because, hey, my computer wouldn't start properly this morning. And we all know that, especially in the cyber security world we're in right now, that these people are just they're the wrong people. And everyone struggles to convert break fix into managed services. So that's the first thing. They might have the wrong mindset. It could be that they're too small. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with a 2-user business, but it's the same amount of work to manage a 20-user business as it is to manage a 2-user business. I appreciate there's more support work and proactive work with 20 users, but there's also a lot more profit as well. So it might be that they're too small, or it might be that, I don't know, that they're just, what else would stop someone having an MSP already? I guess it's almost like, it's like your first girlfriend. And I don't know if you can remember, the 30, 40 years ago, George, when you got your first girlfriend, but or when you're someone's partner, someone's boyfriend or girlfriend for the first time, you're not very good and they're not very good. You're not as, you think about now when you're married and you do romantic gestures and you remember birthdays most of the time and all of this kind of stuff. And you are a better partner now because you've had a number of years where you've got it wrong. And certainly if I look back in my relationships in my 20s, I was really not a great partner compared to how I would be now, and I guess it's kind of the same with a business. If you are the business's first IT support company, then you've got to teach them how this MSP thing works. You've got to teach them how managed services works. And it's one thing if someone comes to you and they're spending $2,000 a month on managed services and you put in a proposal for $2,300, but you're offering this much more than their incumbent, that's easy for them to understand. They can look at this, they can look at that, and they can say, well, it's a bit more money, but we're investing. We prefer these guys. We've got no relationship left here. That's a good thing to do. You try taking someone that's spending nothing on IT to spending $2,000-3,000 a month, and that's a much harder sell. So I'm sure it can be done, and there are the way it should be done is generally through education. I just think my own personal opinion, I'm prepared to be proven wrong on this, but my own personal opinion is it is more profitable to steal someone else's unhappy clients than to try and teach someone how to be a good client in the first place.
Okay. Hey, listen, I asked the question. I got a great answer back in return. How non-effective or effective is the free network audit?
The free network audit. I'm a massive fan of the free network audit, but my clients hate it. And the reason I like the free network audit is it gets you a foot in the door. So if you think about selling, the whole thing with selling is about engagement. And the more someone engages with you, the better. So the worst way to do the free network audit is where you turn up and you're dealing with a 17-year-old who works at that place who says, yeah, I can show you where the server room is. Just come through here. Oh, hang on, I haven't got the right key. Because there's no engagement with the actual decision makers and the influencers there. In that instance, it's a complete waste of time. But if you can use a free network audit with the owner and you use it as a tool to start a conversation, then that is a beautiful thing. The reason I suggest that the Back to Work Mom does sets up 15-minute phone calls for you is that the whole point of that phone call is to have some engagement. If the phone call is strictly 10-15 minutes and they're off the phone, or excuse me, off the video call, that's not likely to be someone who is going to go on to be a great client. If actually that 15-minute video call becomes a 30-40-minute video call, which it can and which it does, there's huge engagement there. We've been talking about their business, about their technology, about their goals. It's a very natural thing to say, hey, we need to meet up in real life so we can talk about this properly and so we can discuss how we would partner together on working on your business. And I see the network audit as a similar kind of tool. If you can make sure the decision maker is involved in that process, that would be the right thing to do. The hard thing is making sure that decision maker is there. And every MSP has turned up to do one of these audits, and it's the wrong person, or you realize that you're one of a number of MSPs that they're speaking to, and there's just no engagement there. So it's a tool that can be used. I tell you what would be better, George, than doing it for free. Charge for it. Charge $500 for it.
400?
I don't know, 300, 500. I mean, if you're going to charge for something, you've got to charge properly for it. So you either give it away for free or you charge proper money. Now, I guess it would depend on the marketplace, wouldn't it? If you're in a marketplace with lots of competition and well, I always believe all MSPs should be the most expensive anyway. They should be at the top of the marketplace. You don't want to be down at the bottom because there's no profit. It's all about volume at the bottom, and people make good money out of that. But it's hard to make money unless you've got huge amounts of volume at the bottom of the market. The middle of the market is where everyone sits. Everyone tends to charge the same as everyone else. In fact, it's almost I had an MSP say to me last week. He said, "I can't charge that." I can't remember what it was, but he said, "I can't charge that per user because everyone else charges $20. And I said, "Well, there's no law that says you can't charge more. What there is what the market will take. So here's an idea: stick $5 on that. If the market accepts that, stick another $5 on that, and you create a new ceiling." I'm sure someone would have said to Steve Jobs back in 2010, whenever it was 2007, wasn't it, when the first iPhone came out? I'm sure someone said to Steve Jobs, "But you can't sell that for $800 because all the other phones sell for $500." And Steve Jobs would not have taken that as a piece of advice in any way. And what's the most expensive phones on the market today? iPhones. And what do we perceive to be the highest quality? iPhones. Are they the highest quality? No, they're really no better than all phones are very much the same now, but iPhones absolutely sit there at the top of the market. So yeah, I mean, if you can get away with it, charge $500 for it. Do you know what? You'll get the decision maker's attention if you charge more for it. And you could always say, whatever you spend on this will that be added as a credit if you go on and buy anything else from us, which is a way of giving them their $500 back.
Okay, fair. No, I mean, like, that seems to be the shtick that's been out there for a long time. And I always wonder, is it still working? Does it work? But I guess it all depends on, well, how are you positioning it? Because, any offer sounds great or doesn't sound great, depending on, how you make sure that you're getting to the right person. So
well, I said my clients don't like to use it. And I think half the problem is because it's been around for years. And when something has been around for years, people start to discount it. But you've got to remember, it's been around for years for you and for me and for everyone enjoying this webinar. But for the ordinary business owners and managers, they may never, ever have come across it before, ever. Because remember I was saying earlier, they stick with an MSP for 10 years. And there's like a 2 to 3 week window where they're actually paying attention to what it is that you're saying. Even if they were offered a free network audit 10 years ago, they're not going to remember, or they might think that that's just the standard way of doing it. And I think it's very easy to dismiss something that's big in our world and that's filling our world a lot, because you assume your audience is seeing it a lot, but they're not. They don't see all of the stuff that we do. In fact, when I was back in radio, when I was a DJ, one of my bosses said to me once, he said, we were talking about like competitions. We were doing a competition to win a car or something like that. And I said to him one day, I said, "I am sick to death of talking about winning this damn car." And he said to me, "Paul, at the point that you are sick to death of talking about it, the listeners are only just starting to realize that we're giving something away." And do you know what? He was absolutely 100% right. Because there was me sat in my little soundproof box, playing records, talking about the competition, but people don't sit for 4 hours and listen to my show. They would dip in and out. And even when it's on in the background, they're not really listening. So by the time I'm sick of it, they're starting to hear it. It's the same with marketing. We've been putting out, we have a core product is called the MSP Marketing Edge. And we've been putting out essentially the same marketing for the last 4.5 years. So it took us around about a year to get our marketing message right. And since then, we haven't changed it. So we've tweaked it, sure, and we've kept it fresh and we've kept it up to date, but the core message is exactly the same. And you know what? I'm sick to death of it. My marketing manager is sick to death of it. My sales manager is sick to death of it, but I will not let them change it. And we've all made a pact with each other that we will not change the core marketing because it works. It brings in new clients almost every single day. And many, if this was a big business with some guy at the top, by now they'd say, "Hey, our marketing's getting stale. We need to change the marketing message. We need to change it up a bit." And they'd be an idiot because the marketing works. And at the point it stops working, that's the point I'll change it. Far too many MSPs zing from thing to thing to thing, or they don't even have any consistent marketing going in the first place. And that's one of the core secrets of marketing.
Let's ask this question. No, you're before you even answer it. So many people have said, hey, I've tried this marketing, tried that. I've gotten the book. I tried to do it myself. I signed up for HubSpot. It was supposed to just work for me. It didn't. Like, I tried this for 6 months. It just didn't work. I turned it off. How long is the right? I'm sure it's variable, but you're not giving it enough time, right? Like marketing is something that has to build up, whether it's SEO, whether it's blogs, whether it's educational marketing, whether it's building an audience. That doesn't happen overnight. I mean, you can pay money to speed it up, but it doesn't happen overnight. And I generally feel like at the 6 month marker, I don't know why that sticks in my head, but every time it's like, oh yeah, I tried it for 6 months. I dropped 10, 15 grand. It didn't work. And I turned it off, and I'm like, dude, 6 months, like not enough time for it to actually do anything for you. What do you think about the right amount of time?
I'm going to bring it back to the thing I was saying earlier again, that your ideal prospect, the person, your next client, is currently in a contract with their MSP, with their incumbent MSP, and there's that 2 to 3 week window. So what if that 2 to 3 week window is in 2 years' time? Now, so that's my first thought on it. My second thought is, so sorry, let me go back on that. So longevity is a big thing. Persistence and consistency is a big thing. It's a massive thing. Being persistent and consistent with your marketing every day for 10 years will always beat other people who just throw big campaigns, try and dominate a market, then retreat back. Big campaign 6 months later, or who try AdWords. The number of people that have said to me, "Oh, AdWords doesn't work." AdWords does work. It's expensive. You've got to take a long-term view, and you might pay $2,000 to win a client, but that client's going to be worth $150,000, $200,000 to you in their lifetime. So AdWords does work. It's just difficult. People say to me, email marketing doesn't work. Well, with respect, it does. I built an entire business and sold that business for a premium off email marketing. I use email marketing now. Email marketing, my MSPs I work with use email marketing. You can't send an email and expect to get a client like that. But that email is all part of the relationship building. So at that exact moment that someone is ready to buy, you are somewhere in their brain. You're never top of their mind, because it doesn't work like that. We're not that important to them, but you're somewhere there in your brain, or the email pops up and the timing is absolutely perfect. Social media. If I had a dollar every time someone said to me, "Oh, social media is just a waste of time," or "Oh, social media doesn't work," it's crazy. Of course, social media works. You don't win clients off social media, but you build relationships with people. You get in front of people. It's absolutely about taking a long-term view. If I bought an MSP tomorrow, the first thing I would do is I would put in place exactly the same strategy I use in my own business and that I recommend to all the MSPs I work with. And I've kind of touched on it already. It's a very simple 3-step strategy. Step number 1 is you build multiple audiences. So that's people to listen to you. So that's your email database. It's your LinkedIn database. Step number 2 is build a relationship with them. That's about putting content out. There's daily content on social media. Weekly, you send an educational email. Don't sell, just educate them about stuff. And monthly, you send out something printed. And I prefer printed newsletters for that. And then step 3 is you commercialize the audience. And that's done by picking up the phone. And you talk to people. And do you know what? If you did that, that's a machine, and there are lots and lots of little cogs in that machine, which if we had 20 hours, we could look at all the cogs, because there's lots of little detail. But if you put that machine in place, and then you used virtual assistants and outsource people from Fiverr and Upwork and other platforms to just run that machine for you every single day in, day out, until you either sell the business or you die, whichever happens first, guess what? Over a period of time, you will build up such immense momentum that you become the go-to IT support company. I have clients I've worked with for 4.5, 5 years. And it's really interesting. There's one guy in particular, I'm not going to name him, but he's based in the UK. He's wonderful to work with. Have I met him? I've met him once. Most of everything we've done has been over email or through our private Facebook group for clients, or just, just chatting on a Zoom call. And he has been so consistent with his marketing for years and years and years. And he wins new clients on a regular, I don't know how regularly, but he wins new clients. The business is growing. He's very good at selling more to his existing clients. And as a business owner, he's in a much better place today than he was 4 years ago when I first started working with him. And, you'll say to him now, where did these new clients come from? And he'll say, it's very hard to know. He says, because this guy here watches my YouTubes. This guy over here has been on my email database for 4 years, and he's clicked an email around every 2 to 3 weeks. This guy here follows me on Facebook and engages with me in Facebook. And it's very hard for him to say which of those platforms, because often they'll be in multiple platforms as well. But I tell you what it comes down to is just momentum. He turns up with a new YouTube video every single Tuesday. He sends out an educational email every single week. He posts on social media every single day. There's just huge momentum there. And his competitors are doing a bit, stopping, doing a bit, stopping, doing a bit, stopping. He is just, and he's not a juggernaut. He's not dominating the market. It's not a massive business, but he's being consistent with it. And consistently, he wins new clients. And it's wonderful, but that does take time. So I know I haven't answered your question there, because the answer is, how long is a piece of string? But I do know that the more you keep going, the more momentum you build up, the more successful you become.
Okay. So the answer is consistency, and it's not an overnight thing. That's the answer.
Totally.
Right.
Yes, that's the short answer. I should hire you to edit my answers down into short answers.
I'm good. I'm good at like pulling out the actual, thing to take away. All right. Well, then the next question is, how much money? And I know like some people say, oh, it's a percent of your revenue. It's like 2% or 1% or whatever. How much money should the MSP be investing in marketing annually? Like, how did they come up with that number?
So I don't go with the whole percentage thing. I don't have a problem with it. And that there are many industry figures who talk about percentages, and I, the vast majority of industry figures I respect and admire, and I couldn't even tell you, George, what percentage I would suggest, because that's just not how my brain works. My brain works a little bit differently, which is you spend as much as you can afford on marketing, and you balance it out over a period of time. So when I say as much as you can afford, when you're in startup mode, it should be every penny you can get your hands on. But as long as you spend it well, you can waste marketing cash. And I think sometimes time spent on marketing is more valuable than dollars spent on marketing. But I think as your business matures and you're starting to put in place a machine, you say, hey, right, so what if I want to get, stuff that daily, stuff weekly, stuff monthly? What if I want to get other people doing these things for me? How much is that going to cost me? Well, this virtual assistant here is $20 a month, $30 a month, whatever. This back to work mom is $35-40 an hour. Did I say a month? I meant an hour. These are figures I'm going to have to spend every month. Overall, I'm going to be spending $1,000-2,000 a month, but that gives me a persistent and consistent exposure out there. So the people I want to speak to, I'm building my database, I'm adding in 5-10 people a week, I'm putting messages in front of them, and most critically, I'm paying someone for 2 to 3 hours a day, 2 to 3 days a week to pick up the phone and to call them. That's it. I can stop spending now. When I say stop spending, I mean you can stop your spending there. You keep paying these people and for the resources they need to keep doing that. But as you get bigger and bigger and add new clients, you wouldn't typically need to add on any extra spend. So I'm not going to put a figure on that or a percentage on it, because that will be different for every business, and it will depend on who you hire and where they are. I mean, I spend, I'm in the UK, so we spend pounds here, and I spend tens of thousands of pounds every month on marketing. I have a full-time marketing manager. I have a full-time telephone person. I have in fact, two full-time telephone people now. We've got one in the States, one in the UK. I spend £10,000 a month on traffic alone, but it generates, I'm not going to tell you my profit, but we make more than enough profit out of that, and the business is growing. The marketing spend stays the same each month, but every month my turnover and my net profit gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's the trick to pull off within your MSP. Because the reality is most MSPs don't want 10 new clients in a month. In fact, that would kill you. you certainly don't, only the very largest super MSPs want 10 new clients a month. Most people want to have one, maybe 2 new clients a month, depending on the number of users, because it's a lot of work when you onboard a new client properly. So you don't need to do a massive amount of spend. It's just finding the right amount of spend to keep your marketing machine working without you personally having to do it, and then making sure that you are adding those new clients without increasing that marketing spend.
100%. Brent piped in and he said, well, Maureen said, this is a great conversation. Thanks, Maureen. We try and put something out there that helps everyone. Brent says, it doesn't work because you're not following the rules, especially in all caps, following up. Yeah, yep. Brent, you're 100% right. Like if you got a lead or you got a message, you got somebody that's actually interested and you didn't get back to them for a couple of weeks. Yeah, I mean, we're in an age where they're just going to go to the next person, right? I mean, it's very easy and quick to do that.
It is, and we're looking quite intently at instant chat at the moment. You're going to websites, and up comes the little thing saying, "Hi, do you want to talk to someone?" And I'm this close to recommending to my clients and all MSPs, go get instant chat on your website. Why? Because people are so, what's the word I'm looking for, George? People want it now. We can go
microwave society.
Exactly that. I know you can do this, but in the UK, this is a relatively new thing. We've only been able to do this for 10 years or so. I can go to a supermarket at 4 a.m. and buy a widescreen TV. And if I can go and buy a widescreen TV, or if I can chat to a big supplier at 4 a.m, which is when it suits me, why can't I chat to you? And there are various different ways of overcoming that. And instant chat managed for you by an agent, for example, a 24/7 agent can be a great way to do it, particularly if that agent knows their job is just to book in appointments. I mean, we do it on our website. We don't have live chat, but we have a 24-hour phone number, and it just goes through. I'll be completely honest, it goes through to a call handling. We've got one in the UK, one in the US, and the call handler has got some basic answers to questions that are asked, and their main goal is to book a 15-minute video call with my sales guy who and he's got access to his live calendar. That's it. And the reason we do it is because people who call are ready to do something now. So we satiate them now. We give them some answers and we book them in an appointment at the earliest possible opportunity. But we don't have a 24/7 operation. We need sleep. Most MSPs don't have a 24/7 operation. If they do, it's because they've outsourced it to Benchmark or someone else. But from a selling point of view, if someone wants to talk to you at 10 o'clock at night, increasingly you cannot not talk to them, because that's what they want. They want that instant thing. And so we've got to find ways of giving it to them that don't interrupt with our home lives.
100%. I saw this on a MSP forum the other day. I'm going to bring it up because you're Mr. Marketing. How often should you be refreshing your website? Like, is there, at some point, like you said, things could get stale, or hey, maybe things need to be revamped, right? Maybe cybersecurity is the topic of the day. I don't know, but is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 6 months? How often should they be refreshing their presentation?
The takeaway is 2 to 3 years. The reason for this is I believe websites age in dog years. So I don't know if you have this in the States, but certainly in the UK, we say, for every year we live, your dog ages 7 years. And I think you can think of your website as aging for every year. It's actually aging in 7 years. The problem you've got with websites is when someone looks at your website, they're not comparing it to other MSPs. They're comparing it to Google. They're comparing it to Amazon. They're comparing it to all of the media websites they look at every day. So actually your website is being compared to everyone's websites. And the point at which you notice your website is looking a bit outdated and a bit rubbish, it's probably a year on from other people looking at it and thinking it's a bit rubbish. So when I say refresh, though, I don't mean a completely brand new website. What you should absolutely do, and this is best practice, is you set up your website in a technology such as WordPress, which powers, I think it's 3 out of 5 of all websites. Wow. The beauty of WordPress is you can change the look of it infinitely without having to rebuild it. Because if you think of WordPress as like a car, the actual WordPress platform is the chassis of the car, and you can take off the body of the car and put a new body on, but it's still the same car. It's just, it looks like a new car. And that's what you can do with WordPress. That's why I'm such a big fan of WordPress. So, we have a policy of constantly tweaking ours, where we don't refresh the look hugely, but we'll tweak things and just try, hey, let's mute that down a bit, and let's make that smaller, and let's put this here, and let's have a little cutout picture of Paul at the bottom, and let's change the call to action. But we're a marketing business. This is I have a full-time person whose job it is to think of things to change on the website. For most MSPs, get your website good, and I'll tell you in a second what good means. And then I would say every 18 months, calendar it to just have a look at refreshing it, whether that's refreshing the look, reviewing the font, just looking around. It's surprising how, take font sizes. Font sizes have got bigger on websites in the last 10 years because, again, cell phones. Everyone's got a cell phone, and if you've ever looked on a website where it's really small, my favorite blog is called Daring Fireball by John Gruber. And if you look on his website, which is the content's brilliant, but every time I go on it, I have to pinch and extend it, and I've got pretty good vision with my contact lenses in. But his website hasn't kept up with font sizes, and the font size is just too small. So even on my desktop, I have to have it, bigger than normal. So something as simple as font sizes, or for example, 5 years ago, the big thing was sliders. Those big things you have at the top, and it moves and it slides. Sliders are so 2015. They really are. Which doesn't mean you've got to panic if you've got one on your website, but you've just got to be aware that it dates the website. And this is the whole thing. The website, I said, what makes a website good? Your website is your shop front. If you're walking down a street and you see an old, tired shop front, it's a mom and pop hardware store, the window hasn't been cleaned, it's dusty, half the bulbs don't work, the sign's faded, you're going to look at that and you're going to say, well, I pretty much know what I'm going to get in there. It could actually be the best hardware store on the planet inside, but we really do judge the book by the cover. We judge the product and the service by the packaging. So if your website's rubbish, just like a rubbish shop front, people just won't do it. They'll think, oh, these guys are a bit old hat. What makes a website good is people. People. It's not about technology. If on your website right now you have any stock images of people, or my God help me, if you have a picture of a server or a network cable, or if you have the Cisco logo or the Datto logo, or you've just got pictures of computers, or even if you've got the word cloud on there or 365, all of these are fails. Ordinary business owners and managers are not engaging with this kind of stuff. They're engaging with stories, they're engaging with humans, they're engaging with the things that are important to them. They don't buy technology, they buy outcomes. So talk about the outcomes, talk about greater productivity, talk about everything's just safer so you don't have to worry about that. Talk about you'll never lie awake at 4 a.m. worrying about your technology or worrying about that. Talk about it doesn't matter if your staff leave you because everything can be made secure just like that. These are the things they want. They're not influenced by all of those other things I was just talking about. They're influenced by stories and humans and people. And even if you're a one-man band or a one-woman band, you can come across really well on your websites. In fact, some of the best websites I've seen are the one-person bands, because the one-person band tells the story, and they just elect not to say, hey, I don't have anyone else working with me right now. You don't have to be that honest about it, but they tell stories. They put photos of themselves on there, and they tell stories about how they got into IT, about the clients they work with, and they focus on what people want. And if you can get that right with your website, it's just beautiful. But so few MSPs actually do that.
100%. And like you said, 920 out of 1,000 are not good. So by the way, that was good. Somebody should go back and rewind this video and take those pieces down, because he just identified what's good. And it sounds like it's success stories and outcomes and people saying, this is what I was looking for, and this is how you solve their problem, and less about the product. However, Walter pipes in and says, but some vendors require placement of their logo to resell their product as part of their partner program. So do you park that on some side page or at the very bottom? Or
you put them in the place where most people don't look, which is down at the bottom of the page. So the further someone scrolls down a web page, the further something is down a web page, the less likely anyone is to see it. If you want to, Walter, if you want to check this for yourself, go to hotjar.com or go to Lucky Orange, both of which are similar services. And Hotjar is free and is generously free until they start you to ask paying. Ask you to start paying. But these are things which go into your website and they record videos of people using your website. So you can't see who the person is or anything creepy like that, but you can see, here's a user, this is their session, and you literally see how much they scroll, where their mouse is pointing, and they never get as far down a website as you think. So that's where you put your vendor logos, right down at the very bottom of the page. In fact, you could even dump them at the bottom of you could have a partners page, because the partners page, and there's all your vendor logos, and no one ever goes on it except the rep that you send there to say, yep, here's your logo. There are two pages that get the most traffic on your website. It's your home page and your About Us page, and you should be focusing as much of your effort as you can on those two pages. So yeah, anything that you've contractually got to do, just hide it away somewhere.
There you go. Perfect. How much? What's the best way to say this? How much do you find people are concentrating too much on the wrong? I'm going to reword this. Rewind. How much money is being spent in the wrong places? Meaning, is it, if somebody's like, hey, I want a quick win, I'm gonna drop $2,000 a month just on AdWords, right? Or I'm gonna spend $2,000 a month just on SEO. Or I'm gonna spend $2,000 a month just on LinkedIn ads, right? Like, you can spend in the wrong places. How do you balance the marketing spend? Like, how do you determine how much you go over here, how much you go over there, so that you're actually seeing some balance from your spend?
And that's difficult to answer, isn't it? Because as we know from what we said earlier, the return on investment is not short term. If you had an e-commerce company and you were selling things and you spent $2,000 on Google Ads and sold 1,000 things, you'd be happy. That it would cost you $2 to acquire a new client. But MSPs, it doesn't work like that. It might take you 2 years to acquire that client, but they might stay with you for 20 years. So I think the short answer to that is test and measure, and to start small and work up. So dropping $2,000 on Google Ads today and then dumping Google Ads because it didn't work is a really dangerous thing to do, because as I said earlier on in the show, Google Ads can work when you get your attitude right towards it and when you set it up right. I have a client in the UK who did a great Google Ads course on Udemy, which is the courses website. It was a 20-hour course. It cost him about $500. He did it all himself, and then he sat and set his Google Ads up. And that was about 2 years ago. And in fact, I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and I said, how are your Google Ads going? He says, yeah, it's great. He says, I leave it on. I don't touch it. It's all set up now. I've got my positive keywords, my negative keywords. We've got the right messages. And he says, I forget the exact numbers, but essentially it generates a client for him every 3 to 4 months. And then in between that client, there's a lot of noise. So he's an MSP, but he will get people clicking on the ad, ringing up and saying, can you fix me iPad screen? Which is exactly the kind of client he doesn't want. But he's okay with that because he's worked out, let's say he's spending $1,000 a month. So that's a $12,000 spend, but he's getting 3 clients a year out of that. Well, those clients are paying $2,000 or $3,000, I know he's in the UK, but $2,000 or $3,000 a month. So overall, he's very much well up. He could switch off the Google Ads today and those Google Ads are paid for themselves 20, 30 times over, but he doesn't, and he's quite happy to put up with the noise because eventually it will get some clients. But he started small. He started with $100 for a week and then moved it up to like $200 or $300. And you typically find with marketing, if you spend $100 and get a return of 1, then if you go and spend $200, you'll get a return of 2. But there is a finite level. So I think with all of this, start small, and with everything, start small. Got to be honest, George, got to be totally honest. I very, very rarely ever recommend MSPs to go and spend money on traffic. Very rarely. I will recommend MSPs spend money on buying data if that's appropriate. And I will recommend that they spend money on things like people to make phone calls and people to post, tools and things to post, and obviously buying content and stuff like that. But the vast traffic there's no such thing as free traffic anymore. You've either got to pay for it or you've got to do the hard work for it. And actually you can get better traffic. And by better traffic, I mean better quality traffic from spending an hour a day on LinkedIn, on forums, for example. You know, if you have, let's take your geographical area or a niche, if you've got one, and you say to yourself, right, the business owners and managers that I want to reach, where are they? Where are they hanging out? I'll tell you where they're hanging out. They're hanging out on Facebook. They're hanging out on LinkedIn. If they're consumers, they're hanging out on Instagram. What if you go and hang out where they hang out and you add some value to their lives? So this works brilliantly in fact, this works better in verticals than it does in geographical areas. But just as an example, you take a vertical, let's say you want CPAs. You've got two or three different states where you would happily work with CPAs. Where do those CPAs hang out? Well, they will have LinkedIn groups. They will inevitably have a Facebook group. There will be some kind of professional group, some kind of professional forum where they hang out. There'll be a magazine that they read, or an email, or a blog, or something that they all subscribe to because it's something that's to do with their professional development or something like that. There'll be a magazine that they read. There'll be events that they go to. There'll be networking that they attend. And you can take all of that and add all of that to your local area. Why would you spend lots of money on traffic when you can go to a networking meeting, but you work the room properly, and you work the room not just doing what many people do, which is talking to the first person and getting stuck to them for the rest of the event because you're a bit nervous, but you work the room, you talk to people about their favorite subject themselves, you hand out business cards like they're going out of fashion, or better still, you hand out your book. I'm a big fan of MSPs having a book. You can get a book written for you, or there's various services that will give you a book. We give a book to our clients. It's about email security. You know, imagine you can get them printed for like about 80 cents a piece, depending on how many you get printed. Imagine giving those out at a networking meeting. You would be the guy that came in and gave out 20 books. You might even sign a few of them as the author. What kind of an impact is that? That's better traffic than spending a few $100 on Google Ads. But I also think you've got to get the mix right. And if you don't have a huge amount of time to throw into it, then yes, cash can be a way of driving traffic. It can be a substitute for your time.
Let's rapid fire over the last couple of minutes.
Sure.
Maureen, we're going to have him give all that information in a second. All right. We're going to do 1 to 10, right? 1, don't waste your time. 10, double down. Okay.
Love it.
Appointment setting services.
Professional ones, 5. Proceed with caution. So when these services start out and you're dealing with the business owner, they're brilliant, because the business owner's probably been doing this somewhere else and they've started their own business and they're passionate. They throw themselves into it. They will work 15-hour days to make it work. As they get more successful, they take on more staff, and the staff are never as well trained. They're never as successful. So if you get someone in their first couple of years, yes, why not? But when they start to go off the boil, fire them. So make sure you're in a contract where you can walk away at any time.
Okay. Event marketing.
9.
Okay.
I love events, and especially now because we haven't been able to do events. When people go back to events, they're going to go back to events. So events are great as long as you know you never sell at events. The whole point of events is starting a relationship with someone. You've got to make sure you get their business card or zap their badge, or find a way to get them onto LinkedIn, whether it's QR codes. There's a dozen different tactics you can use, but your strategy for events, whether you're attending or exhibiting, should absolutely be, let's start a relationship with 500 people today.
SMS marketing.
Oh, now SMS I love because it cuts through. So just like WhatsApp, when you get a WhatsApp or an SMS, there's very little spam. Well, no, there's lots of spam these days. It demands your attention. The downside is there is lots of spam. And I think with an SMS, you can very easily, if I send you an email you don't want, George, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to delete it and hit unsubscribe, delete it and mark it as spam. That's the very worst thing. You're not going to ring me up and be angry with me because it's just an email, right? But an SMS, because an SMS has that cut through, if you SMS the wrong person at the wrong time, it can really do some damage. So I yes, use them with caution, but they really should be saved up for something special. Last
one, video marketing.
10, 20, 50, 100. Video is everything, absolutely everything. There is, the future is video. It is so important. And if I could wave a magic wand and make every MSP do two things. One would be to fix their website. And the second thing would be to get a professional video set up to learn how to do videos. Anyone can do it, even if you hate it. You know, it's a learned skill. Videos are so important because people engage with them. And I've had MSPs say to me, well, I don't watch videos. And it's like, fine, you can't judge your marketing by what your own personal preferences. You've got to judge it by other people. How many billions of hours do we record on? Does YouTube serve up every day? You know, what I mean, I have an 11-year-old daughter upstairs. What's she doing right now? It's either TikTok or YouTube, both of which are video related. She's the business owner in 20 years' time. You know, what do I do of an evening? It's either Netflix or YouTube. You know, when I'm stuck and I'm trying to do something, what do? I go onto YouTube. Do I watch videos? Yes, we all watch videos. So there is no better engagement than videos. Love videos. But make that 1,000. Make it a score of 1,000.
I mean, if you didn't take away anything from this session, like video was like 1,000. He said 1,000, not 10, not 20. He said 1,000. Take that away. Go get a camera and a light and figure it out. Paul, absolutely appreciate your time. I definitely see the radio in there, man. You clearly did that for a long time. Where do people engage, find you? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Is it a website, email? Where do they get a hold of you?
Sure. We've got two websites. First of all, we have an education website, which is packed with 5 years worth of content, all about marketing and growing your MSP. And that's at Paul Green's MSPmarketing.com. So it's got an S in it, Paul Green's MSPmarketing.com. And then our service, which 502 MSPs all around the world use. We only sell to one MSP per area, and you can try it free for 30 days. And after that, there's no contract, cancel anytime. It's called MSP Marketing Edge, and you'll find it at MSPmarketingedge.com.
Brilliant. Paul, I really appreciate it. You're great. And frankly, real answers, like not fluff answers, actual. I mean, I'm going to tell everyone, go right now to mspinitiative.com under sessions. When we post this later on today, bookmark this video. And I want you to go back and I want you to rewind it a couple times. He gave you a ton of free advice. And if you never even raise your hand and go to the website and say, let's talk. I mean, the guy literally handed you a blueprint on how to fix the biggest problems that everybody keeps on complaining about for years and years and years. So I usually summarize these at the end. I'm not even trying to do that because there was like 30 things I could have taken away from this video. But video marketing, that one, thousands, not 10, not 20 thousands. Pay attention to that one. Paul, we're going to circle back with you later on. Guys, I really appreciate you for jumping on. Remember, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 o'clock Eastern time. And then, of course, online at mspinitiative.com. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Thank you.